see one, I see one. They put 2 star washers there. I think, what does one do? The holes are quite big. Don't scratch anything. Let's see. Yeah, that seems to come through a little bit better. At the same height, likely, as the rest of them. Come on. Everything's a little bit gummy. There's like something like, you know, sticky, waxy, I don't know, something's on that. And it doesn't seem to want to go back on. Let's try the other side. The pots are not nice. Did they put it on cross-threaded when they did that? Oh man, I think they did. Because it was sitting wonky, I think they put it on cross-threaded. Let's see if I can be corrected. No, it won't go on. Okay. Well, it's going to have to be changed anyway, so no biggie. Let's get it out of the way to begin with. Yeah, so yeah, chiclets, what do they got in there? 473s, so 47s, way too much. I'm not happy with it. Not happy with it. I think the threads are buggered up on this pot. Wonder if I do it from here, can I correct it? Going backwards. I don't think so. No, it won't even go back on the way I took it off. We'll replace all that. And in the pickups. Now let's see what's in the switch cavity. Well, we're here. Let's see what's in the switch cavity while we're here. Let's see. I love these little suction cups. They came with a kit to replace components on tablets and phones. Oh, it's the box switch. It's the box switch. Not the standard blade switch, but the box switch. And that's what the cavity looks like in there. All the wires are kind of lumped up in the middle there. And I took off one tie. They've got shielded interconnecting cable, which is good. Oh my! These are splittable pickups. They have center taps. That's a surprise. That's an absolute surprise right there. Stand by for the next work part. Whatever that may be. We're going to have to check the frets as well, and we're going to have to move some parts around on this thing. Yeah. I just need to keep these factory strings long enough to test the roller bridge for action and whether or not it goes in nicely, and also to fix that nut up there, if it's either fixable or replaceable. I'll have to replace it with something good. I have some nice bone nuts that could go there. I looked at my green one. It seems like I kept the nut and I filed it down to where it really ought to be. I can't remember the work on the green one specifically. All right. These posts are really loose in there. Just check to see if they're about the same. KD. It's got KDT on the bottom of this thing. I don't know what that means. Alright, so the actual bridge itself, I've got better posts. Now while I'm here, let me check that. It's almost like these are the wrong size screws. Alright. The anchors are tight. Now that I've moved that, I don't have the action I had before. Alright, let's see if we can get these back in there. This is always the hard part, trying to get these things about lined up and back in. And that's all down far enough to check it. This one, let's see if I put it all the way down, what does it look like? Okay, I'm going to have to, I'm going to just leave it up a tiny little bit here, because I'm going to have to retune it to see what it looks like. Well, it's what I figured. Even if it goes all the way to the bottom, I can't get the action as low as I'd like it. It's almost there. I could do what I did with the Harley Benton Jr. Go and take some meat off the bottom of the bridge where it sits on the studs. See, that's 4 and a little over 4. And that's only good because the strings are thicker up here. A little bit of meat off maybe, but don't have to worry about that just yet. This nut is cut so badly in the slots. I'm going to replace it with a nice new white bone. I've taken a couple of pictures here I'm going to show you of how it was done. It looks like it was cut with a chainsaw, a hatchet, and maybe a Sawzall saw. It's so badly done. Really surprising about, you know, this IYV guitar, because typically they're pretty good, and there's a lot of bad on this guitar. With dirt on the binding under the poly. Now I see a spot here on the horn as well. I haven't looked at the rest of it, but I found some up here on the neck. There's scratches, you know, up here underneath the cover, and the paint is worn off here on the top of the headstock. There's also, I think I'm hooked. There's also, I don't know if it'll come out, but there's also some paint missing here on the corner, right there. You see? Oh yeah, there it is. And yeah, worn off here on the back, right along there. Paint's worn off. You just basically see it. It's not going to be, you know, infringing on what I could make it do. playability wise, but yeah, it's going to have to be done. So the first thing I'm going to have to do is play with these strings until I can't play with them anymore and try to get this nut cut properly. I'll worry about the saddle later. I think I didn't change it on the green one because back then I didn't have my belt sander to be able to do these bases. It's still tricky to try to get it as flat as possible so that you can get it down, but we'll see what happens. The nut, first part. So here I have to go and play with the, luckily I've got lots of nuts, bone and tusks for these types of guitars. Yeah, this is the worst nut I've seen ever. Okay, on all of the guitars that have come through here, and this is like number 50 or so. It's the worst nut. And break the poly between, in the crack between the nut and the binding, because they typically get the poly right in there. And if you don't cut this nice, what happens is it'll chip when you break it off. So I'm just trying to cut it deep enough that when it breaks apart, it won't chip the poly. That's the plan. Cross your fingers and hope it works, because I do see the poly overlapping the small piece of the nut. Just a little bit of the real estate there. Of course, you don't want to chip it with the knife either. Is that sharp? Yeah. Or cut your fingers. It's going to be a lot of work on this guitar. Way more than I expected. Way more than I did on the green one, I think. Okay. I think that's broken. Let's check and see if there's anything on this side. No, I don't think there's anything along the back side. There's a tiny little trough here that this nut will sit in. And you don't want to break that off either, which is why I'm trying to tap it from the back to try to make that come off apart, shockwise. That's butting it up against the fretboard first. Oh, wow, we got it. Pretty clean, pretty clean. Not even any wood on it. It is a bone nut. But wow, did they ever screw that up badly? Wow. Now let me check the height of the new nut with the old nut, because it's probably going to be a tiny bit higher. Not by much. And that's almost a perfect fit in the trough. It is a perfect fit in the trough. That slot is good. Trough slot, whatever you want to call it. It's a perfect fit. So all I have to do now is make sure that the height of the strings are going to be okay. I'm just going to mark with my point 0.3 pencil a line along the fretboard to see how far away the bottom of the slots are from the line. And how does it look? Okay, it is going to have to come down. So I'm going to take some meat off the bottom of the nut first, and then as usual dial it in at the top as required. So that'll take some work. I'll be back. Don't go away.